St. Joseph's Church is known affectionately as the church that watched a pueblo grow into a city, and for good reason. It was first established in 1803 when the Pueblo founders began construction on an adobe chapel dedicated to their patron saint, Joseph.
Due to an abundance of rainfall and a few troublesome earthquakes, it took 8 years to build the chapel. A few years after that, a brick structure was built up around the original adobe to help provide more support. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough to resist the effects of Mother Nature.
So in 1869, a wooden church was erected, but that too was destroyed, only this time by fire. A fire, so the story goes, that was the result of a curse by a local bandito named Tiburcio Vasquez.
Vasquez was reputed to be sort of a Mexican Robin Hood, robbing from the rich to give to the poor. It was rumored that some of his loot was even given to the church to help make repairs and so forth. Anyway, when he was captured, he was sentenced to hang on, of all days, St. Joseph's Day. Obviously irritated with the irony of it all, Vasquez swore to everyone that his ghost would come back and burn their precious church to the ground. Sure enough, a month later, the church was leveled. A couple of small boys were seen smoking in a nearby livery stable shortly before the fire, but how could their prankish carelessness begin to compete with a good old-fashioned curse?
That's a good story, Eileen. Or at least it's half a good story, because you see, the townspeople did get even with Vasquez. Exactly 1 year to the day after Vasquez was hung, the cornerstone of the new church was laid in place, the church that stands to this day. Pretty neat, huh?
Talk about poetic justice. What do you say we go over and take a look inside?
Oh, I'd like that. Let's go.
Okay.
It's gorgeous, isn't it?
Really awe-inspiring.
This church was dedicated in 1877. Local farmers gave their profits from 3/4 of a bushel of grain each year for maintenance and adornments. And as you can see, their generosity wasn't wasted.
Hey, Lee, what's more adorable than an angel?
I don't know, Eileen, what is more adorable than an angel?
25 angels. Those were all handmade by one of the parish priests. They look solid, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're not. They're made of plain old paper mache, so these angels will remain on high.
Well, no respectable church should have fallen angels.
Right. Great care was put into the art and decoration here to conform with the traditional European style of the church. Many of its stained glass windows with images of angels and New Testament characters were hand-blown using a process that was perfected in Bavaria nearly 1,000 years ago.
The same artist priest that made the papier-mâché angels made most of the murals that you see here. Each of these are separate panels that were painted in wet fresco in a studio and then brought in and glued in place on the ceiling and walls. Why, the gluing process alone took nearly half a year.
What's nice about St. Joseph's is that in spite of all its many reconstructions, it still retains a feeling of its Spanish influence on early California. Although it's been somewhat anglicized, most of its services are still held in Spanish.
My favorite feature of the church is its custom loft organ. Most organs of this type today are reproductions, but not this one. This is an Odell organ, and one of the last of its kind. It was purchased by a church member as a gift in 1886 for $5,000. Today, it's priceless.
As is St. Joseph's itself, and of course, our whole San Jose heritage. What do you say we go back outside and see what Tom and Gary are up to?
Sounds good.
The area we're all celebrating in today used to be, as you know by now, El Pueblo de San Jose, the first civil settlement in California. But how many of you knew that San Jose was California's first state capital?
I knew.
You did?
Yeah. From 1849 to 1851, San Jose was the seat of government. The first state legislature met here in a 2-story building designed by pioneer architect Levi Goodrich.
Goodrich's claim to fame was his unique use of sandstone. It was a material he probably had plenty of, since he was also the founder of the old Greystone Quarry near New Almaden. Probably the best example of sandstone construction is the San Jose Museum of Art right across the street.
This is San Jose's Museum of Art. It's right around the corner from St. Joseph's Church. It stands as a perfect symbol for the city's historic and artistic heritage. Built in 1892, it was San Jose's first federal building, the U.S. Post Office.
You can tell just by looking at this building that it was built to last. These sandstone walls are 3 feet thick. Notice the carvings. Local Italian artisans carved those blocks 90 years ago, and the only change to the physical structure since then has been the loss of the clock tower dome, which was shaken loose by the great 1906 earthquake.
Speaking of the clock tower, that clock is one of only 2 left in the entire country. It's a 1908 century clock, designed to last a century. It's wound every 6 days by cranking its great weights up into the tower. Then as the weights descend, time marches on.
Indeed it does. In 1937, this building became San Jose's public library and served as such until 1970, when it was renovated for use as an art museum. Today you can enjoy fine exhibits of art, or you can listen to music recitals or enjoy poetry readings. It's a great place to go to spend a quiet afternoon.